Guys, welcome in to World War III. So how about abortion? I don't want to really even talk about abortion. I know that's a big thing, a big debate right now in America. But what I will talk about is the media's influence and the media's manipulation of the general public into making us believe and, creating the premise that you're either pro-life or pro-choice, when in reality, this entire situation is so complicated. If somebody asked me, am I pro-life or pro-choice, my first immediate response would be, it's very complicated, because I've done a lot of thinking about this, what I would do when it comes to abortion, but I want to talk about this graph, where Americans stand on abortion in 5 charts. And this first one, you can see few Americans support making abortion illegal. But guys, just look at that graph and look at all that grayness in this graph. That grayness shown in the chart is literally all of the gray area. Most Americans, when they really sit down and they think about abortion, they don't say, oh, I'm pro-choice, no questions asked. If you say I'm pro-choice 100%, no questions, the woman should be able to get an abortion whenever she wants, you are in the ridiculous, you are in the strict minority. And then the same thing, if you're pro-life, no questions asked, you're in the minority. The point I'm trying to make with this graph, most Americans, when they're asked about abortion, and they actually sit down and think about it, there's always, I'm pro-life, but, then there's stipulations. I'm pro-choice, but there's stipulations. This is a very complicated issue, and when you've got the media spin saying people are pro-choice, pro-life, listen, guys, I believe the woman does have the right to choose. What I would do is I would say, listen, if I'm a state legislator, I would say 5 months. I would say you have the chance to get an abortion. 5 months after that, we're cutting it off. That is 20 weeks. That is plenty long enough. I understand the religious argument. I understand. See, the problem with the abortion argument, people are arguing against different things. Like, what do you determine is a fetus? What do you determine is a living human being? Somebody did ask me, a person that was, I believe, they had to have been pro-life, or excuse me, a person that was pro-choice. They were trying to make fun of it. They're like, what's your favorite moment being a fetus? Trying to be like, oh, you're not a human when you're a fetus. You can't think or anything like that. And I said my favorite moment was living, right? Because if I would have been aborted, I wouldn't be here today. So I understand all the arguments, but the thing about it is you've got Democrats and Republicans that are extreme hypocrites when it comes to this. Like, look at the Democratic perspective. They're like, oh, we're pro-rights. We're pro-woman choice. Women should have the right to choose. And then they want to censor people off Twitter and all the social medias and completely restrict citizens' rights to the First Amendment. So they're like, oh yeah, we're pro-choice. We love all the rights, but then when it comes to the First Amendment, Second Amendment, we don't want people to have rights. And then you've got conservatives saying, we love the First Amendment, it should be on all these different platforms. And then they say, you should not have the right to an abortion. I would put it at 5 months personally. I think that's I guess that would make me pro-choice. But again, guys, I'm not a hypocrite. I understand it's a very complicated issue, but I am always going to be, you have rights. I'm always going to be on the right side. Women do have rights. I agree with that. But I don't agree with this idea they should be able to get an abortion whenever they want. You have to cut it off at some point because the fetus gets so developed, and that's when science gets into play. Again, this whole thing, half the time, the people aren't even arguing about the same thing because some people think a 3-month-old, fetus growing inside you, they think that's a human, and other people think it's just cells. So when you're arguing about two different things, that makes things so complicated. And this graph, you're literally looking at Americans being asked, do you think abortion should be legal or illegal? And you're looking at the massive gray area. It's all a gray area. When the media comes out and says this many people are pro-choice or pro-life, they're misrepresenting it. This argument is mainly a gray area. It's extremely complicated. It's like, I'm pro-life, But again, if someone gets raped or something like that, they should be able to get an abortion. I'm pro-choice, but up until a certain point, after 5 months, you can't get an abortion because the fetus is too far along in development. I think the idea of two grown adults, say they're 22, 23, 24 years old, having unprotected sex, facing the consequences of that, which is a baby, and then just getting an abortion, I think that is a horror, that promotes something terrible. Personally, I think, listen, women always say, you know, it's our body, our rights, our body, whatever. Yeah, it's also your decision making, and you're a grown-ass woman. I know it gets complicated. You could wear a condom, it can break, the woman could be on birth control, she could still get pregnant somehow. That's why this entire situation is so complicated, but I do think the idea of two people just having complete unprotected sex, the dude, you know, sending 5 ounces of cum into the girl, and then they're like, oh, we got a baby, we can just abort it. I think that's that promotes something terrible, personally. But again, at the end of the day, what do? You know, do you ban abortion? I mean, it's just, I don't know, guys. The whole thing, again, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I 100% believe in rights. That's what I believe in. Right to the First Amendment, Second Amendment. Women do have rights, but again, it's like you're arguing, is a fetus a human? The whole idea, and then you've got someone telling me, what was your favorite moment being a fetus? How about living? Like, they're trying to diminish being a fetus. It's like, no, I don't remember when I was a fetus, but I wouldn't even be here if I was aborted, right? So it's like, the whole argument is crazy, guys. I don't know. I believe in rights. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not going to go out there and fight for the First Amendment right on social media and then come back and say, oh, the women, if you get pregnant, no matter what, you got to have the baby. I understand most Republicans will say, even if they want to make abortion illegal, you got to let, if the woman gets sexually assaulted, you got to let her have an abortion, if she wants it, because it wasn't her choice to have the sexual activity. So you have to give her that choice. If you're someone that, and then what happens to the baby? It becomes an orphan. It's a terrible situation. Either way, guys, the point of this whole thing is to show how divided people are and how complicated abortion really is, rather than just being pro-life or pro-choice. It is a very, very complicated situation. This is another quick thing I just wanted to show. I'm so embarrassed to be a part of a generation that laughs when a baby is ripped limb from limb in the womb, yet cries when someone calls them the wrong pronoun. Yeah, some of the liberals, with how, like, obsessed they are with abortion, it's disgusting. It really is disgusting. Do Republicans have any idea how outnumbered they are? So I saw this, and number one, this makes no sense because Republicans are polling better than I've ever seen them in terms of just general overall election. So that tweet makes no sense. I went to this person's profile, and just a complete bot. There's no way this is a real person. Whenever someone is following 41,000 people, and then they've got 45,000 followers, you just read off this person's profile: Canadian flag, blue wave, blue wave, blue wave, American flag, Canadian liberal, anti-fascist, dog lover, loathe Trump and the GOP, DMs blocked, hashtag resistor, hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag climate change, hashtag Antifa. So and then you can see the Stand With Ukraine thing there. Yeah, these accounts have been popping up all over the place on Twitter, where they'll have like 40,000 followers and then they'll be following like 38,000. There's a lot of Trump accounts, like I Love Trump. They're all bots. It is crazy. I saw this person's tweet talking about how Republicans were outnumbered, and then it's just like, that's not a real person. Like, that, literally, that is not a real person. So, very interesting to see stuff like that. This was really interesting, something that I found. Breaking: a massive PR firm that represents high-profile corporations like Coke, Netflix, and Starbucks is privately advising its clients to avoid commenting on abortion rights, according to an internal email obtained by Popular Info. The conservative war against woke corporations is starting to change risk calculations and shift corporate behavior. Yeah, so very interesting. Normally in the past, you would get all of these major corporations coming out and being pro-choice. The women's have the rights. They always take the extreme liberal stance. And I guess, I think to a lot of us, it's like, we just don't know why all of these companies went so woke. Like, wokeness is, in terms of overall, is it really accepted that much in America to where it benefits these companies to virtue signal as much as they do? People are shocked by it, and this is very interesting that they're telling their clients to just completely avoid this abortion rights topics. I think they know it's an extremely complicated issue. There's so much gray area than saying I'm pro-life or I'm pro-choice. There's just so much more gray area. It's such a complicated topic. But it is interesting. It's like, why we're like, you think companies are it's a profit, just a profit-based decision to where the way we get our most profits, the way we make our most money is if we have all of these extreme woke stances. And it's like, most people in this country do not agree with this sort of alt-left wokeness that we've seen. And you're seeing it represented in many of these new 2022 midterm election polls. Why do you think the liberals are making such a massive deal out of this abortion topic? They're desperate for anything at this point because they're going to get crushed in the midterms in 2022. And they know they're going to get crushed. And I've given them the roadmap to come back. You got to go against this woke stuff. The wokeness has completely hijacked the liberal party. And the people that are just normal, good liberals have let it happen because they're afraid of being labeled racist if they go against the real woke people, because of course the real woke people are going to label anything racist. But it is interesting to see if we see a shift from these major corporations who have really been virtue signaling everyone about everything. And you would think with the abortion thing that's going on right now, they would be making aggressive woke statements like, oh, women should always have the right, Republicans are racist, they don't believe in women have the right, things like that. But they're not doing that, apparently, according to these tweets. So very interesting stuff there. We'll have to see if things are shifting a little bit. That's why that one tweet that said, by the bot account saying Republicans were so outnumbered, it made no sense. This is actually the one time Republicans might have the majority in this country slightly due to all the independents being turned off by the alt-left, which is kind of taking over the liberal party right now. That's why you're seeing the overall shift in demographics, and you're seeing, you look at any sort of odds, Republicans, the major favorites in the 2022 midterm elections. And actually at this point, we'll see what, there's a lot of time. They're the current favorites to win the 2024 election. They are. So for the Democrats, they're going to have to shift their focus away from this woke crap because people just don't like it. And I think these corporations are starting to realize the virtue signal stuff, it doesn't work. It doesn't make you more money. And, just a very interesting tweet to see if that shifts it away. But guys, overall, just wanted to touch on the abortion stuff. We all have our own opinions, but the main point, it's a gray area topic. That's what I would say the abortion topic. Gray area arguments. You've got people who aren't even arguing the same thing. You could be pro-life because you think a 2-week-old, fetus is a human, and then you're pro-choice, you think an 8-month-old fetus is a clump of cells. You're arguing against science, right? You see how much of a gray area there is. You're not even arguing against each other. You think you are because one's on one side, the other's on the other, but you have two different thought process when it comes to what a fetus is. That's how complicated this issue is. It's not as simple as saying, oh, you're pro-life, you don't care about women's rights. Oh, you're pro-choice, you don't care, you want to, murder babies, right? It's a lot more complicated than that. That's the overall point I'm trying to make in this video. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.